We've already learned kind of the more fancy ways of manipulating text in Illustrator, but I want to make sure that we also cover just all the different little text pieces that are included often in any kind of comic book cover. So I'm going to make a new layer actually, and that's going to be my other text. And again, it starts with, your type tool, and you're going to click somewhere. I want you to notice that they always have the name of the comic, and then they usually have a number. So like this could be number 1 or number 10 or whatever you want to do. Oh, this one says number 1 best-selling comics. I just noticed that actually. So this is not the number of the comic. This is like trying to convince people like why they should buy it. Over on the left side in the tiny text, I don't know if you guys can see that. It says number looks like 233. And also the cost, it says 15 cents. So you've got several different things. And up here at the top it says The Amazing New Adventures of Superman. So I want you to note that this is actually two different styles of text, and might be a little confusing on how to do that. So I'm going to do an example on that one. So I'm gonna actually put on caps lock right now and then type in The Amazing New Adventures of. So I typed all that. It kept my previous settings of having the impact font with the spacing. If you guys see that, the tracking that was there before. I need to make a little space at the top here. I'm feeling a little crowded right now. So I'm just going to move down the title and the artwork to give myself some space. And I might end up having to make my artwork a little bit smaller to make room. So The Amazing New Adventures of Luke Cage. So I could use the same font here or not. It's kind of up to me. You don't want to go crazy when you're doing text layout. You don't want to use more than 2 different styles of fonts. I actually kind of like this font. What I noticed on this one is it's probably the same font as this, but it's stretched. It's kind of stretched to be tall. So I'm going to just make it like stretch it like that just to make it look more and maybe a little less, but that makes it look kind of exciting. The other thing I'm going to do is I want to change the text color. I'm going to pick something on him. Let's see here. So trying to find the right color is pretty tricky, but I'm going to start with that. So I've got The Amazing New Adventures, and I noticed that in most comic book layout they have a stroke or an outline around the text. So I'm going to add a black stroke, and you can see it kind of outlines it a little bit. If you want it a little thicker, you can do that. I feel like that's probably good enough for me. And so the other thing I want you to note is that every word except for The Amazing and Adventures are the same size, but everything else is a different size. So the easiest way to do that, well, there's a couple ways to do it. You could break each word into their own little text area, but you can also just highlight the text. So I'm going to double click and then highlight the word the, and then I can go up here to the top and I can actually just make the font smaller like that. So I have the not being as impactful as amazing, and then the word of is a similar size, so I'm going to just change this so it says 25 point. So I'm going to make my word of also 25 point. And the reason they do this is to emphasize some things over others, right? So The Amazing New Adventures of Luke Cage. So the thing now is that the word new is not only is it a different color and size, it's also in italics. So I'm going to show you how to do that. So I can make it bigger by highlighting and making it bigger. And then I can change the color of the text. I'm going to pick a blue. And finally, the italics. There's a couple ways to do this. If the font you have, like mine, Impact, doesn't have an italic option, you can also click on character, and one of the options is you can go actually up to transform. And under transform, you will notice there's this one that's called Shear. It's kind of like a rectangle that's been kind of tilted at an angle. So you can actually, this is where you can make it look like it's italic. It's kind of a fake italic. So I'm going to click the 10. And actually something that I did notice, and you probably noticed too, is that when I did this effect, it actually did it to the whole text line. That may be a problem that we can't get around. If the only way we could get around that is if we wanted to make the whole, like what I would do if this was my project, I would probably just cut the word out. So cut, and so it's no longer in there, but I'm going to leave some space for it. And then I'm going to paste. And there's my word new. I'll have to play around with the spacing in a minute, but now I can go back to transform and I can add that shear to this without affecting the other text. So now the trick is, of course, is to get the spacing just right. These are still connected. I'm just going to hit the backspace a couple times, and that looks pretty good spacing wise. So that gives you a sense, and I can also, this one I can make this word a little bit wider if I want, like the text is just a little bit wider than the other text. Again, I'm giving it more emphasis. Do you guys see that? So it's a way of creating a variety in the text, and those are pretty simple things. This is a more complex thing, but notice all the different formatting techniques they use with the text on these covers. So what I recommend is that you use the cover as a reference. Make sure you've got the title of the comic for sure, the number of the comic, the price. If you want to have like a comic company, because DC makes Superman, you can also have that. And this is sort of like I don't know if this is like a title, like Superman is the comic and then this is the title of the issue, but you could also do that. So you want to play around with that and have some fun.